Let's get it on. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the first ever premiere of the Redirect podcast here at RLPC. I am Titan on fire. I am going to be the host for today. I'm going to be leading us through all of our topics, but let's first introduce you to all of our wonderful talent here, starting off with Cyan.
Ooh, what's going on, ladies and gentlemen? My name is Cyan LG. If you are in RLPC, I'm sure you see me around. I'm on our media team here. I am a commentator. I've been playing Rocket League pretty consistently since, I would say, the end of 2016. So I am now at the rank of GC 2-3 level-ish. So I have a good amount of in-depth knowledge about the game. I could do some talking about that in future episodes. Other than that, I'm just here to have a great time, talk with all my friends here about the state of RLPC, all things happening, general RLCS news, and we'll get a kick in from there. Who's up next, Titan?
Well, I mean, just gotta say, I appreciate the little, just casual flex there. Flexing your rank, just gotta mention that, make all of us feel bad for not being GC2.
Of course, come on.
Yeah. It's just, that's what you do. All right, Dead Medic, how you doing?
I am doing good. My name is Dead Medic. I am a little better than Cyan. I think I'm the best on this desk. 1800 plus. I clapped him last season. That's all I'm gonna say. Like Bobcats over geese any day. So I am a caster for RLPC. Second season in. Like I said, 1800 GC. Several seasons in a row now. I have pretty good game sense. I coach a little bit on the side. I played for collegiate UNC. Shout out Chapel Hill. Things like that. So I'm excited to be here, excited to be talking about these topics.
All right, very nice, Dead Medic. Yeah, I like that. Shutting Cyan down, he deserved it for coming out of the gates like that.
Don't get me started.
All right, Squintle, how are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. My name's Squintle. I'm also pretty well known if you've been in RLPC for a while. Also on the media team, been casting for a little bit. Here and there, on and off. Unfortunately, unlike Dead Medic and Cyan, I'm not quite GC2, GC3 level. Sitting at a lowly GC1. My bad, guys. But hey. Unfortunately, my record isn't very good. I'm gonna have to say it. 3 in a row, 0-3 for finals. Unfortunate. But yeah, excited to be here. Excited to get this started, and happy to get it going.
Yeah, I mean, we'll get to talk about that later. We'll probably talk about that when it comes to last season. But yes, of course, I am Titan on Fire. I joined around last season or so, and I have been casting ever since. But yeah, that's me. I'm the host. I'm actually the lowest ranked here. I'm only C3, so I definitely know what I'm talking about when it comes to this video game. But yeah, welcome. But yeah, welcome to the Redirect podcast. So what is this? What's going on here? Well, it's a podcast where we talk about Rocket League. We're going to be talking about RLPC, the general state of things, predictions with teams, talking about how the season's going, preseason in this case, as we're not actually into season 14 just yet. And then, of course, we'll branch out into RLCSX, just touch on that a little bit, and then we will, hop on and finish it up after that. But it's going to be a pretty fun time. It's just us hanging out, the boys, chilling out, taking our takes on RLPC. But before we even get into that, what is RLPC? For those of you who don't know, which I'm sure most of you do, but just to quickly remind you, it's an NA-based league organization. I believe we have around 3,000 members or so, and it was established in 2017. We usually have 8 leagues. It's down to 6 this season with the because we did have to drop the 2 bottom independent leagues. Each of them have MMR caps. We have a draft. The draft was really exciting this season. I'm sure lots of people saw that, and we will talk about that later on. And so people are drafted in. We have contract systems, free agencies, a regular season alongside playoffs, an off season, GMs, prize pools, all of it. It's so much fun. It's great. And it's, really fun to be a part of. If you want to join it, if you aren't already, there will be a link in the description to join the Discord. All right. I think that's all the preliminary stuff done.
We have one more thing. Of which we have to introduce this man, because without him, none of this would be possible. He's coming in super clutch on the production aspect. We have Trash Bandit with us, and I believe he's here to say something. Are you here,
I'm
Mr.
here.
Bandit?
Even though you can't see me, I'm the face behind all this. Without me, you wouldn't be seeing these 4 lovely men, and I'm clearly the most important one here. because I'm the one making this possible for you to be recorded. And Bobcats over Geese.
That's right. That's right. That man knows. Okay, that's why I bring him in. Okay, that's all I'm saying. But yeah, huge shout out to Trash Panda coming through clutch to record this for us and get this show on the road. Now, Titan, I believe we're good to go.
Now we're done. So we can start talking about some RLPC stuff. I do want to start off with talking about last season just a little bit. We'll touch on the playoffs because, of course, those ended about a month ago. We're into season 14 now, and we're getting the preseason started. But season 13 results, I think I'm not sure if there was anything too surprising about the results of season 13. So if anyone doesn't know, we have around 8 leagues. We have your P4 leagues, which are major, AAA, AA, and single A, ranging from different MMR caps, major being the highest, which is pretty much like uncapped. Like it's just 2,000 plus or something like that. I don't know what it was exactly. I'll have to check my facts on that. But just going through the results real quickly to tell you guys what happened, what teams we saw come out on top. In the majors, the Kings did pull out a 4-0 sweep. I remember I was watching that. It was, I think, pretty surprising, but they had been looking dominant all season. I just think it was kind of shocking in the manner in which they managed to win majors.
Yeah, I will have to say that, anytime you do see a sweep in the finals, you have to feel for the team that was the runner-up. Who was that? The Bulls last season. Yeah, they were the runner-up that they got swept in the finals of the major division. But I mean, all props to the Kings. Really came together super well. Both of those teams, respectively, not at the complete top of the major division during the regular season, I would say. Both of them finishing with that 11-7 record. But the playoffs is where it really matters. That's where it really counts. And the Kings are just able to just kick some butt in the end.
Yeah, I mean, able to pull it through, right? Like I saw some of that and what they were going into for that, and I don't think it was surprising to a lot of people when they had finally made it to finals that they did win. But I think that it's interesting to see because I think they're one of those teams that I'm not sure that they're gonna have the repeat season because they didn't like super dominate everyone throughout, and we were just like, oh, they're gonna be the number one, right? So like, it's gonna be interesting to see if they can win again this season, I would say.
Yeah.
And we'll get a little bit into talking about the teams and how they can repeat, which actually we can talk about as we go through the leagues. Yeah, we can talk about that. Why not? We'll just switch these two things together, talking about last season because hey, the Kings. Yeah, I do think it's going to be hard for them to have a repeat. I don't think their roster is anything too spectacular. Of course, there's still it's still some really good players, but this season with the draft. The roster that they did end up picking up, I think, is again kind of a middle ground team. I think they will make it to playoffs, but it's just a question of it doesn't seem like, or we're not really sure if they are going to be able to have that repeat. So they're definitely a team to look out for, though. Like just all the way again because. They started off middling team again, came through, won the playoffs. So definitely look out for them as we head down to AAA. It was a bit closer. We actually had a game 7. I do remember this match quite vividly. It was the Bulldogs versus the Entropy, ending in a close 4-3 victory for the Bulldogs. It was kind of a nail biter.
Yeah. So the AAA, I think, was the saddest of the leagues, as me and Cyan can attest to here. Like most of the teams that should have gone through the finals, would have thought just like died in the first round. Like Bobcats, we died immediately. Like we just, I guess, didn't put forth the effort, things like that. Like so, it was kind of funny because Mar, who he is one of the leaders of RLPC, he had sort of said this happens every season in AAA, which is that always the teams that nobody thinks are going to move forward, the dark horse teams, the teams that are really in there at the lowest amount that you can be in playoffs, go to the end. And he was like, that's exactly what happens every season. And we saw it again. I mean, it was, I guess, a good final. I don't think it was the best final you could get out of AAA, but it was certainly surprising. Like, I certainly would not have picked Bulldogs to go all the way. We obviously played them in our division several times, and like, I definitely wouldn't have made that assumption. So I know they're looking for the repeat, but it's going to be. I wonder if they can muster that same level of talent they had at the finals there.
Like, yeah, and I do have to agree with you. Of course, like once you just did mention Mar, he did have my Geese going to the finals and winning it all, and of course we get first rounded. But that's just the way the cookie crumbles. But I do also want to mention now that we're moving through these leagues a little bit too. Looking at the two teams that we just touched on, the Kings and now the Bulldogs, it is very interesting to me to see that actually both of those teams, all three of their starting members are no longer parts of their organization. So it's interesting. We see a lot of turnover kind of in RLPC from off season to off season, and and it's really comes down to hey, you did win that championship, but it might have not been so much of a given with both of those teams finishing with that 11-7 record. So just because you're winning doesn't mean you're going to be guaranteed a spot here.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like, because here's the thing, like, there is a high turnover rate. We did shift the goalposts as a league this season, so I know a lot of players, like, they didn't necessarily leave; they got moved up to major. Many of the AAA players from last season got moved up to major, and that's sort of where they were hanging out now. And unfortunately, because you can't rank out of major, obviously, as we said, it goes all the way up 2,000 plus from I think now 1,650. So it's a lot of people, not a lot of turnover as far as like unless you just want to quit. So or you want to try to find a new team. So I know a lot of players will leave because of that. That might be something we have to explore as a league in the future. But I think I just don't. The entire AAA scene this season is completely different, I think, than last season. Like you see very few repeat people. I don't recognize many of the names personally. So I think it's going to be an entirely new AAA. And I do think that when we get to this later about the like who is going to win it all, I don't think anybody can make a determination because of the way we shifted the goalposts.
Yeah, it's gonna mess with the math a little bit, and it's more so about do I actually know this player or not? Because they've been moved around, and you're looking at the teams, and you're like, okay, I know that name, I don't know that name. I'm just gonna go off that. But I do think talking about the Bulldogs, they actually do have a really good roster just straight off of draft that they managed to grab. For instance, they managed to get Foam, Remasters, and Edwin, all their players, like their main starting roster, all around 1,600. So I do think they do have some pretty good chances if that roster can, mesh together and play well to have some really good results. So I am definitely looking forward to that and seeing how they do. As we move down, though, that finishes up our AAA. Down AA, we had the Pythons taking a 4-2 over the Inferno last season. Squintle, were you able to catch that final? I don't recall.
I actually was, and it was pretty controversial actually because everybody thought that Inferno, they were the strongest team regular season. Most people had them at number 1 power rankings the whole way through. And then this Pythons team, I think it was around, I want to say right before the trade deadlock actually happened, they picked up a waitlist player whose name was Sauce. And this guy absolutely turned their season around. Rumor has it he probably shouldn't have been AA that season. He was flexing his SSL rewards the whole way through. And yeah, he definitely was the big carry for them throughout the whole playoffs and the rest of their regular season from when they picked him up. So he definitely was a key figure in how they took that dub.
I remember that. I remember a lot of the little Timmies in chat every time we would cast would be like, Sauce shouldn't be here. It's a one-man team. Like, that's the only reason they win. Like, I mean, so to be fair, there's an argument to be made for that, right? Like, if he's that far ahead of all of his teammates. But, like, at the same time, like, Rocket League is a very much team game. It's not like CSGO or things like that where you can 1v5 an enemy team. It doesn't really matter if your teammates suck. Like you can hit a nuts flashbang, that sort of thing. Rocket League is very much like if your teammates are that bad, you ain't winning no matter how good you are. So case in point, every time I try to carry Cyan. So like,
Oh my God, we've never played. Never.
They don't know that, okay? Nobody knows that but us. So I think like there is an argument to be made for that, but at the same time, like if you were a truly good, like beyond your rank AA team, like I don't think that was the single deciding factor of they just had a player that was better than all of us combined, and so like that was it. Like, and so I think there's a lot of little Timmies out there that do that, and I call them little Timmies because that's all you saw in chat. It was like, "Isn't it good? This is terrible. Why watch this? Because he's just gonna carry." And I'm like, "But you're watching it. What do you mean, Timmy?"
Yeah, I do agree. Go ahead, Squirtle. Sorry.
I was just gonna say, I mean, yeah, every team needs a good supporting cast. I mean, obviously, you can see NRG, they have arguably three of the best players you could get right now in all of RLCS, all of the pro players, and it shows because they're out here winning big events, and you need 3 solid players. You can't just have one player who does it all, because your teammates suck. What are you gonna do if they're on defense and they just whiff a wide open ball that goes into your net?
Yeah, and I do agree with that. I think that is very important. Kind of thing to understand when it comes to Rocket League, like in general. Rocket League, in my opinion, really does come as close as you can really come to like a real life kind of sport. Since it is just those 3 guys on the pitch, they're all working together to try to get those goals that matter to move on and stuff like that. But as you guys did mention already, that's very true. If you do have that one guy in your team that's, as we all have come across in ranked, you get yourself, you get your double Q, and then you get Mr. 1780, who's actually a 1550, and it's and it's like, and sorry, I mean a 1450, all right, or maybe a 1350. I'm not sure, but regardless of the point, I mean, it does make such a big difference, with some of these, Rocket League teams that do come together, as you did mention NRG, as you see, Team BDS in EU right now, completely tearing, already qualified for the Spring Split Championships, just due on the amount of points that they have, which is just absolutely absurd. But I mean, it just really shows, you do need all 3 of your members of the team to be contributing. If you just have that one guy that's lagging behind, it's just not going to be enough to kind of bring it through to the top.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure Titan can attest, dude. He's always that one guy on the bottom. He holds that bottom of the leaderboard down.
Yikes.
Listen. My team didn't even do that bad last season.
No,
Come
I
on.
remember it, dude. I remember it, but like
we always won when I showed up. Come on.
Wow, so you were the rock for the team. Like you had to show up and carry, put him on your back, dude. Yeah,
I think I can attest more so than other, because when I did play, I was a Mav player. I was lowly, just barely at 14, like 80 or so priced. But and I had a team where it was very much that. I had 2 teammates who were extremely skilled individually, but they didn't really work too well together. And so if I wasn't there as that third man, holding it down, if you don't have that glue for your team, it can just not really work out. Even if you have 2 amazing players who in reality it should work together, it just sometimes doesn't, due to play style, due to maybe even the similarity of their play style and wanting to go for a lot of the same ideas, and they just end up getting on top of each other a lot of the time. So I definitely do think a lot of the complaints about that, you look at it and you say it's not just one person. It's the fact that you also have 2 other players on the team that are stepping up to play alongside and at the same level of that person who maybe is a little bit higher ranked, but in reality it doesn't make too much of a difference.
Yeah, I mean, like, Simon was talking about it. Like, you can get that one person that's like, bro, I'm at 1800 and I'm down from 2000, and you play like a bronze 1, and you're sitting there like, bro, what do you mean you're 2000? He's like, trust me, look at my 16 alts, okay? I will link you every one of them. 1v1 me, dad. Like he gets that sort of like view as Squintle runs away from the conversation. He's like, that's me, dude. I gotta delete my alt.
Walks off. See you later.
Man, like, bro, you gotta call me out now. It's like, but you get those one dude, and you get them ranked all the time, dude. I am sloping bad because of these kind of kids right now. I definitely feel it. Like, but I think that showed that roster, that Sauce was sort of elevating. Like they already had potential. They just needed that one sort of star player to rally around. And I do think you saw that happen at the end of the season, which is why I do think they deserved. And I said this on cast. I think they deserved that win because they did play better. And it wasn't like it was an impossible series when we casted that final. I forget who was on desk. Was it you when they tightened at that point? I think I forget who it was, but we casted that final. And we were like, absolutely, this could have gone either way. In the end, they Sauce and his squad pulled it out. So
yeah, it was a really good showing from them, and they just came together at the end of the season, really pulled it out. And yeah, I think it made a good show for AA. It made it interesting, and getting excited to see this team step up and play well. Moving down though to the A playoff match, there's actually a bit of an interesting thing I want to talk about this when we start talking about preseason. Though we did have the Titans facing off against the Stallions. The Titans got that 4-1 win. And again, kind of one of those more of a blowouts when you're in the 4-0, 4-1s. You look at those finals and you're like, okay, this team was just obviously just better on the day.
17-1 for this season, man. What a record.
I mean, when we casted that, like we knew from the gate after game 1 that was a blowout win, and like they were clearly the better team, like by a huge margin.
Come on, you gotta cut us some slack, man.
Did you just call Moss good? Oh no, my man's ego and major chat about to go through the roof.
Man, I mean, to be fair to them, they were the better team overall and probably on that day. But, got to be one of those Timmies real quick. But this time for 2 players, we got Soars. I'm not going to point out any numbers, but 1,800, 1570 league, something like that. Mods, 1730. I mean, 15, I mean, to be fair to them, they played well.
Sandbaggers. No, what?
We tried our best. In the end, obviously, it didn't work out to our favor. But, I mean, it was a good game. Obviously, they played well. They were good sports about it. We were good sports about it. So, I mean, all's well that ends well.
Well, see, that's the difference though between the Chad or the chat Timmies and the chat Chads, right? Like it's one thing if it's just a sauce, right? Like carrying the team, but it's another if your whole team sort of feels like they're, they got them bags of sand on and they're chilling, wanting to clap other people, like And again, this is no slight to RLPC management. I mean, they do their best with the trackers they got, but I do think they were probably one of those teams that, like, their GM just went out of his mind and got really lucky with some of the people that he knew shouldn't have been there. Like, whether the tracker MMR, things like that. Like, he just knew, man, these kids are better. I guess he really lucked out with all of them like that.
Yeah, and I do just want to touch one more thing on that as well as you guys say that. I do know that we do have a different MMR distribution range for this year, but speaking about this, I'm not trying to start no shade or this is no, that's not what I'm trying to do. But both Soars and Moss go from A last season to now major players, so that is jumping a big leap, all the way down from A into major, and it's what are you gonna do? It is what it is. They won. They handily won, and I should say, you guys put up a great fight, but it was really theirs to lose. The entire
Yeah,
time.
it was lost from the get-go, yeah.
Exactly. You put up the 17-1 regular season record. You blow through the playoffs, no problem, and you win a championship. Good for them. If I was one of them, would I be super happy with the championship? I mean, yes, but would it be the most satisfying thing in the world? But
you had some angry DMs. Like, what do you mean I didn't deserve this?
Oh, it's okay. We're in the 39th minute. I hope they just watch this one. That means we have good retention.
Yeah, I mean, while we're talking about that, I'll here, we did see also. I think the only really other similar story to that, I think that was kind of the one team where people were looking and they're like, okay, these players did just like improve a ton, and they were obviously got to a skill level that was much higher than the other players in their league. The other team that was like that was actually in Maverick, because you had the Samurai, who almost had an undefeated season until one of their starters went MIA, and now pretty much all their players are in AA or higher. That was another one of those rosters where actually our lovely streamer was the GM of that team. Got like the luckiest draw.
No, dude, I feel like he got the insider trading, dude. I know Crash Panda, dude. He would never go off luck, okay? Yeah, you're making the moves. He's like Oibu during that draft. Like, he's like, I'm going to make you spend money if you take
I am the insider trader.
Collecting 47 draft picks and then not showing up for half of them.
Hey, I didn't sandbag. They just didn't play to the level they should have been at. I just picked them. They just came. So it's not on me. Sure. That's on them.
Yikes, dude, phrasing. Yeah, I mean, so like, and you actually see a lot of that, like this season. A lot of it feels like the Mav players have like jumped up AA, AAA. Like I know that like a lot of the people that I've talked to in AAA now, they're either AA or below, and they're like, yeah, dude, these guys were like Mav. I don't know why they're here. And you are, I think, seeing some of that struggle actually with the way we move the goalposts. I know there's several teams that we have scrimmed that had some of those players that like they're falling apart because I think that's the difference between like when you're playing Mav versus Mav and then you get booted up to AAA and you're like, oh, well, I have the mechanical ability to be here, but it's like, do you have the team play? And I think a lot of them don't. Like there's a reliance that you have upon your teammates that grows the better you are. Just that sort of, I'm not only mechanically skilled, but I just have the game sense to be able to like not whiff. And it feels like we don't have that in some of these teams. I mean, you saw it on stream. Heat absolutely dominating. Was it the Vipers or something? I forget. I casted that match. I should know. Yeah, I think it was the Vipers. Because the Vipers, like as a team, didn't look put together in that same way. So like you are seeing some of that, but I agree. Like last season, that you could tell there were certain teams that was off. But you're always gonna get that. I think. Like again, you're relying on people's tracker MMR. Like that doesn't mean nothing. My tracker
Exactly.
MMR
Yeah.
doesn't say I'm 1800, except I hit 1800, have the screenshots to prove it. So like,
Yeah.
whatever,
I mean,
right?
and going off
What's your
that, I
rank
mean,
again? What?
yeah. What? Yeah. What?
Bronze too, dude. I'm on the
Yeah.
road to bronze. What do you
Would you
mean?
say
And
you a gold?
yeah,
Two?
that's why I like to call these people ranked warriors. Like they fit their specific play style. They play ranked. They boost up through ranked. But then when they're playing with a team that you're consistently playing with against other teams that are consistently playing together, it's going to be a struggle because these teams that are consistently playing together are consistently at that rank, playing with people, and it's a lot higher speed consistently than your ranked games because sometimes, like I believe Cyan was saying earlier, you get that 1720 who should really be down there like 1540. So you're playing it a lot slower than you really think you are. And then you come into these leagues where these players have been this rank for a while. They know the feel, they know the speed, and you just kind of get like reality checked, and it's
Yeah.
like
Mhm.
I gotta start stepping it up and actually start playing to the speed that now I have to be accustomed to.
Yeah, and that all rounds back to kind of what we spoke about before when we were talking about, the kind of that one guy or, it needs to be a team game. It all depends on also the chemistry. We do see some of these, like, for example, like last season, I often did scrims within my organization when I was still the GM of the Ducks org. My guys, the AAA versus our double A guys, which did had 7-15 on there. Great player, and we scrimmed them often. Those three players as a team were some of the most committed players as like when it came to consistently playing together, doing their replays and stuff like that. And them scrimming against us, for example, the AAA team, who we were a little bit, with our roster, a little bit of shuffling had to be done because, we did play with Jonesy for a while, and then we had to switch off into Buns because Jonesy didn't, really show, and then Buns, but whatever. Regardless of the fact, it all comes down to we didn't play that much, and they played a lot, and when we scrimmed, it was a lot closer, and they have beaten us multiple times in the past just because they do have that team chemistry. And on an individual, standpoint, player to player, are they better than us? Not necessarily, I wouldn't say, but them just playing together, doing that replay analysis, doing that consistent gameplay just really can bring a team together, and that's what makes the difference between some of the higher level teams or the higher kind of, in the standings, I would say, versus the middling and the lower pack of the teams in the RLPC.
Yeah, I mean that's why ranked matters, but it's more of a benchmark, I think, and I think a lot of players would agree with that because you can you can solo queue the hell out of your rank, and it just goes like this, like straight down. Like I'm in that boat right now. It was like you let's say you solo queue threes, and you get that duo that just doesn't want to pass, or you solo queue and you get three solo queuers and just they don't play together, and so you just go down, you just keep falling, or these days because it's free and you can make 100 accounts, a lot of people just throw. Like I've seen so many more people throwing here lately. They just are like, okay, you said okay to me in quick chat. Bye game. Like I'm an own goal now. Like see, so ranked matters as far as like a benchmark, but again, like you said, like Bobcats last season, we won a lot of games. We never scrimmed like ever. And so when we get to finals and you play these teams that have scrimmed or that just feel like comfortable with each other, and none of you have a good pop off day, you have that bad day, that day where like none of you are playing to your full potential. You'd lose. I mean, you just will in these kind of leagues. That's why I really like these leagues. I think they give opportunity for players to test their skill outside of, I really have to care about my ranks. I get upset when I lose 3 games and I just quit Rocket League. Is I think why people like Six Mans for a long time until Six Mans had this sort of stigma about it and you had a lot of toxicity, which is why, again, I like RLPC. I know we're casting for RLPC, but I think they handle the toxicity really well, unlike some others. Like so.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think always like the general like community around here is very, very friendly. A ton of people that are really awesome and just love talking with each other. A bit of banter here and there, but everyone, it's all in good fun. And when there is stuff that is toxic, it is it's dealt with, it's handled. People are talked to. Some slaps on the wrists are given, and it's all worked out properly.
Cyan's wrist red as hell from all them sleeves.
Leave me alone. I've only cussed on stream once. It wasn't my fault, but it kind of was.
We need some more than
Kind of.
No, Cap, we'll get to this later, but like you got some people right now, I'm not gonna name any names in AAA chat, that not only need that slap, dude, they need that jail time. Like this is get some people that need it. I'm telling you, this season's it's interesting. But yeah, you're right. On the whole, a lot of good guys in this league. And again, I know we're saying that from a position of we're doing this for this league, but I think we all would agree that we only put our name to this because we really like the league and we care about it. We know this to be a thing. So I definitely would say, like, for everybody watching, again, I'd really highly suggest when we put the link in the description, you come check us out. It's a lot of fun. You know, even if you're a casual Rocket League player, you're like, I'm only gold. Like, I don't really think I'm that good at the game. Doesn't matter. Find friends to play with. This is what these leagues are good for.
Yep. And all of that gonna round as you were talking about actually some players this season that were you'd think that if you didn't my words did not work there. Sometimes on cast I have this weird thing where I don't have a stutter, but I will stutter because I'm trying to think of words and I just keep repeating the same phrase over and over. It's fun. It's great. It makes it interesting, adds a little bit of variance. But talking about people who need to be reprimanded this season. Speaking of this season, we are in preseason for season 14. What does that mean? Teams are facing off. They are playing against each other to get a benchmark for how good they are to get practice in before we start the regular season. And I think, that can kind of lead us into talking about a few of maybe the rosters that we're interested in, looking at some of the rosters that we think are going to do well starting. Let's actually start with A, because I did want to talk about actually last season's champions, the Titans, because I did get to catch their first preseason match on stream, facing off against, funnily enough, the Stallions in their first preseason match. And it was interesting because I think, again, the Titans, this time, I think they have drafted it's a good roster, but it's a roster that I think needs time. Because if you go back to the stream and look at how they played, there were a lot of mistakes. Of course, that's going to happen with any team in your first preseason match. These are players who haven't played together before. But you could definitely tell it was definitely a very middle of the road team, I would say, I think, until they get their communication down, until they start working together a bit better. The Stallions, however, when they had their 3 starters in, was one hell of a roster to watch. And just to go over why I say that, just to tell you what their roster is, if I can scroll properly to find it. I don't know why I can't see it right now.
I can pull it up for you as it's my team.
There we go. I found it. I got it.
Our big dad Danger's on that squad.
Yes, sir.
Yes, Danger is on that squad as a sub, but they have Chaotic, they have Voy, and they have Akuna. And the 2 big names there are Chaotic and Voy. Because Chaotic on his team, I believe, was he an independent last season, or was he
double A?
He was double A, yeah. Even in double A, performed really well. He was brought onto a team that I think was it was kind of not doing the best, but he was brought on in. They were kind of middle of the road, and he managed to just come in, fit with his team, play really well, get some really nice plays going. And Voy as well is also an extremely mechanical player. And when you saw them run with those 2 players, they only played with Voy and Chaotic in for 2 games. The rest of the 3 was their B roster. They looked pretty dominating. They managed to get a really strong game 1 win, really good win in game 2, and then Danger came in, took out Chaotic, and they got reverse swept by the Titans. But
wow, dude, you throwing Danger out there like it's all him, dude. He came in and
it wasn't just him. I have my thoughts about that squad. I'll have my thoughts about. I can tell my thoughts about that squad when I'm on stream sometime. We'll save it for another day.
Titan's gonna get muted in Gen Chat in a second.
Yeah, Titan's gonna be like, "I loved your episode, but sorry, Titan had to go." Like,
Hey.
Oh, we gotta replace him.
You're off the podcast. Go.
Yeah. I don't want to be the guy to toot my own horn, but I pride myself in my team building. So I definitely think, I mean, we can look at the proof. Let's run it back 2 seasons. Major finalist, AAA finalist, single A finalist. Okay, that's 2 seasons. Last
Sounds
season,
like a lot of finalists.
Okay, calm down. Last season, Major was finalist, AAA finalist, AAA was champions, and single A was finalist again. Keep in mind, all 4 teams made playoffs 2 seasons in a row. This season, we're looking at 4 really strong teams again, in my opinion, for the Bullsorg. And yeah, I definitely think Chaotic and Voy, deadly duo. I've been friends with Chaotic for a while now. He was actually my teammate in my first season in RLPC. So I've known him, we've had connections, and I knew he's a great player, honestly. He's one of those players I feel like shouldn't be in the league he's in. But yeah, so I think him and Voy, someone Hakuna just told me about, Hakuna being our captain, I trust him. I always trust all my captains with their decision making. He said, Voy, he's a good player, let's get him. They played together, they liked playing together, and yeah, they definitely had a dominant first 2 games, and then obviously we made the swap.
The great
and
swap.
The swap.
And just
But,
one interesting thing I'm actually looking at here when it comes to these A rosters that caught my eye. Let me see. There is actually one, two, three, four, five. Okay, so there's 5 3-season contracts that were signed so far in A this season. And 3 of them actually do happen to be on the Rattlers. So that's actually super interesting. So that is a team that, just looking at, those 3 names, Perk, Aspect, and Feizu, I believe that is. I'll be quite honest. I'm not going to, blow smoke up anyone's butt. I'm not the most informed when it comes to a little bit of the lower leagues. I do have a little bit more info about some of the higher level players in RLPC. However, taking a look at that, that's a sign to me that Anonymous, whatever you want to call him, is really looking to kind of build something more long term here for his Cobra's organization in that A level. It's super interesting to see, and I wonder, I wonder if some of those players have maybe even played with each other in the past, because just committing all 3 of your starters like that to 3 seasons off the bat. It's a very interesting move, and I would like to see how that kind of plays out in the longer term here.
Yeah, I think when it comes to building teams like that, especially, it's a pretty bold move. You don't see a lot of people. It's like these three seasons, I want to sign them right now, and like obviously a really big commitment there by Anonymous. So that's definitely a team to look at for more so just how they perform. Say, all right, is there a chemistry that's being built here? How do these play as a team? Because they're going to be there for a long run. Those 3 players are going to be in that org for a while.
Yeah, I mean that's like that's the thing though about these sort of leagues. Like, it's really surprising to see, because it's not like RLCS or anything where you build an org with you say, I don't care about immediate results. I care about results in a year or in the next major or whatever. With leagues like this, especially when we sometimes need to shift the goalposts and they're not necessarily going to always face the same people all the time. That's like a huge commitment. That's saying that I no matter what happens, I think these 3 should be good no matter who they play. Now, there is the other aspect though where he thinks maybe like they'll rank out, so it doesn't matter if I sign a 3-season contract. I'll just play them the 1 season and then they'll go ahead and I'll be good to go. There is that sort of aspect to it, but yeah, I mean it's a bold move. I'm just not sure that they will play all 3 seasons like that, single A together, same team. Like I don't know that is the way.
Yeah, but I do want to counter and just on one point that you did mention right there, because you did mention that the kind of where if the players kind of came to the situation after the season where they do rank out. In my opinion, that's a little bit of an additional reason to really not kind of specifically sign players to that 3-season contract, because what comes in a situation like this? Let's say 2 of the 3 guys, or maybe even all 3 of them, rank out. You get 1 in major, 1 in AA, 1 in AAA, or something like that. So now you have an extra contract that still has 2 seasons left on it, and I'm not going to rag on the way RPC likes to do their contracts, their buyouts. I was a GM, so I know a little bit. It's not the easiest thing in the world to get out of a contract. And, that's also why it's, I wouldn't say strange, but I would take a double look and just, hey, hey, did I really make the right decision here? Because, it could start to mess with a little bit of your other kind of teams as well here. But like I said, we'll see what happens with that in the future.
Yeah, for sure. And just as we finish up for A here, looking at preseason, are there any other teams that any of you guys are looking out for and looking at how they're going to perform before we head into the regular season?
Yeah, I gotta speak out real quick on the Jesters actually. They got 2 players who have peaked up in that around 1600 level, and they have all been pretty solid, and those 2 players are Mickey and Minnie. And yeah, so they've peaked at 1600. Obviously, that was season 14, and if you guys didn't know, that got cut out from our trackers. We don't count that anymore. But that still doesn't mean that their skill is at that level. So, you know, right now they're both sitting at very low, considering what their peaks are, almost 250 MMR below it. And I mean, that's a pretty good steal. And considering if they can work around their two teammates of, well, it looks like they tried to make the Mickey Mouse Clubhouse.
I was gonna mention that.
If they can work around and make it happen, they could be a team to look out for.
So, for those of you who don't know the team, just to tell you the joke, I assume that they're using, like, they all made alt accounts or they all have alt accounts for some reason that are all named these things. I have no idea how this happened, but the 4 players on the Jesters are Donald Duck, Mickey, Goofy, and Minnie.
I swear to God, he didn't capitalize Goofy and it triggers me. Like, everything else is capital. Like, please, if you're gonna have the uniformity.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
That's hilarious. That's honestly such a cool little Easter egg. I don't even
notice.
Oh man.
But again, like, they could have been really good like doubles partners if they played together before. And so maybe they queued and triples and got to that peak, but maybe they're just better in doubles. And doubles and triples, in my opinion, are very different game modes. Just like how triples and solo, like duels, are different. So like there is that to think about as well. But I do want to mention, if we didn't already, the way that so we have a news team here at RLPC, and they provide way too early power rankings. There's a power rankings unit; they do it all. And so I don't remember if we said this explicitly, but the number 1 ranked team in single A this season predicted is Rattlers, followed by the Cougars, followed by the Stallions. So when we talk about the Rattlers being interesting, it's because they are predicted to be the best team. When we talk about the Stallions sort of underperforming on stream or having them little issues, were projected to be the 3rd ranked team. I'm sure that shifts a little bit, but I do think like we were circling all the way back to that. I do think they had a lot of potential. I liked what I saw on stream. I think they just got in their own way a little bit. We talked about this on stream. I casted it with Titan. It was sort of they gave the series away almost, but so when we talk about it like that, and of course Bobcats best org ever, that's why even in single A, second ranked Cougars, okay, that's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah, I mean it's a solid roster. I don't think there's too much that can be said about it because I don't think any of the preseason results on their matches have been streamed or seen. So we don't have a lot of info there. It's a well-rounded roster. Like, all the ranks are there. You have Gala, Cracked, Bonk, and LSM. It just looks like a solid roster. That's all that we can really go by. So not much to talk about there. But yeah, that is kind of what we're going off of alongside our own personal little predictions there as we're talking about this, talking about preseason. But that is going to do it up for A, talking about all those teams, those interesting ones to keep an eye out on. So make sure you're catching the streams on Tuesdays and Thursdays that are going on, preseason matches going on for the next 2 weeks.
I believe so. And then we swap to the Wednesday, Friday for regular season this season, I believe.
Yes. Which is something we should mention there. We will probably, we'll be swapping around the schedules a little bit. A bunch of different stuff to do with also like getting partnered with Twitch, which is a pretty big thing that we're working on. It might be happening. We might be getting partnered with Twitch, which is very exciting.
You love these little faces, dude. Give us all the money in the world so we can get paid for this, dude. Quit our day jobs. Just sit here and talk to y'all.
Oh my God, I would love that. And just
let's go. Shout out!
I get to force people to listen to me.
Shout out to Jerky Pro, our beef jerky. Let's go. Shout out!
Make sure you check out the website.
Just to use code product placement.
They got the
code
nuclear
RLPC.
jerky.
Code RLPC. Click on their website. Get their nuclear jerky. It's go get it.
We gotta all buy some just to bring it out, just randomly.
Remember this? They should send us some. They sponsor.
They give you They give you an 18+ verification to buy the nuclear jerky. So
do they really?
Is my photo ID like it's alcohol? What in the world?
All I'm saying is Jerky Pro. If you want to be pushed really hard, we're looking for sponsors for this podcast specifically, not just RLPC, for this podcast. So hit us up. We're definitely interested. But yeah,
Subway, come on, Subway. I know you guys need
Subway,
free Subway. Yeah.
Alright.
But yeah, this is a fun little tidbit there. I didn't know about that until I was looking at the Twitch bio to learn more about RLPC. But moving on, we are going to talk about some double A, some way too early predictions, as well as our own teams to look out for. Let's me just real quick talk about the way too early ones, as Deadmag said that the news team put together. They have ranked number 1 through 3, the Lynx, the Mustangs, and the Dukes. So, anyone have any thoughts there on those predictions?
I do want to say, with the Mustangs, you guys are going to be pretty good, in my opinion. Itachi is an absolute steal of a player that you stole from the Ducks. Oh my God, you're giving him away. I'm okay. I'm not gonna get started with it, but I think you two, Squintle, you with Itachi. I don't know if you plan on playing him as a starter, but that is a heck of a player you got there. In my opinion, one of the best AA players from not AA, single A players from last season. He's going to be a great look for you guys. Along rounding out your roster with Zap and Michael. I don't know as much about them two, but you can please feel free to inform me about them, because that's going to be a good team.
Yeah, I mean, obviously don't want to say too much, give away some of our secrets to the opponents. But yeah, we definitely don't have a finalized roster yet. Still trying to work out, do a couple scrims, see what works well overall as our
Cool.
best 3 lineup. But yeah, I mean, Michael was on my team last season. He was with me when we went to the finals. Unfortunately, as we talked about, took a pretty
We
heavy loss.
unfortunately went to the
We
finals.
just unfortunately finished 1-8 in the last 2 seasons.
Unfortunately, but yeah. So Michael's a very strong player. He's probably definitely gonna be one of our starters. I can confirm that. And yeah, Zap is a player who's actually on my team 2 seasons ago, who went to the finals with me and we lost. So yeah, he's back on our team, and we're gonna see how we
What a
can make this
loser.
all work.
I like
Yeah.
the idea that Squintle here is just making like the second place squad to try and really finally get himself a win.
Maybe
Yeah.
I'll get it this year. Maybe
If I get all the runner-ups,
Cross the
maybe I
fingers.
can get a win.
maybe I'll.
He's looking at that shelf he's got right in front of him that was supposed to be for all the trophies, and it's just little placeholder slots, finals. He's got one ready and waiting.
Participation banners.
I think it feels like, honestly, and again, like the power rankings guys don't have much to work with right now, as we just had our first preseason games last Tuesday, or this Tuesday rather, excuse me. This was sort of a list that feels like almost was chosen off of these guys did really well last season. So like these are the ones we're gonna look at, because like I'm looking at some of the rosters right now, and you've got some rosters that look stacked like bandits. Like I don't know how they got away with suddenly getting tracker MMRs that are so far above most of the other teams in the way that they're built. Like even their lowest ranked player is better than like the Barracuda's second or third ranked player. Like I don't know what happened there, what kind of genius magic went on for that finagling of MMR. And again, MMR, we talk about it as a benchmark. Again, doesn't mean everything. It doesn't mean that just because you're super high you'll be any good. But like some of these teams, like I would have, if I was just going based on looking at what I know, they would be the ones that I put up top, just because again, we haven't seen much from any of these teams yet. So I'm interested, honestly, like Vultures and Bandits for me. I'm looking at those two to be like the surprising teams that come into this power ranking.
I'm just gonna cut you off here for a sec there, Dominic. With the Bandits team, with them being my AA team, I was actually on it myself, and I went non-playing just to kind of this season just to control as a GM, with me having 2 different orgs. Tender and Awesome. Tender was the Maverick champion and for the Samurai team. Awesome came from Independent on the Dragons org. Botsy was a Grizzlies independent player, and Daniel was an independent player on Cyclones. So all those players went from Independent and Mav, which was 1,300 to 1,400 to 1,500 players over one season. So it's going to be interesting to see how, for that org, or that team in my org, how they all play together. I think myself, Daniel, and Tender are 2 of the most mechanical players that I've seen in quite a long time for being AA. Like, both of them can possibly be decent AAA players. So I guess it's going to be interesting to see this AA roster play through the season.
So you heard it here first. Insider trading, boys, at its finest. Dude.
And
I praise the voice in the sky for its information.
And I do want to touch on one more thing before we move on from Double A. Obviously, I got to bring this up because it does involve my storyline a little bit. If you take a look at that Dukes roster that is third in the preseason early power rankings, look at 2 names, SunX and Ducky. So
Yeah.
if you guys that are listening have been around in the league for a little while, you might recognize those 2 names. So a couple of seasons back, SunX and Ducky were actually 2 of my teammates when I played on the Ducks roster. That was the original year when I was drafted 2nd overall. It was and they ended up Ducky was the GM of the Ducks org for a good while before I even joined RLPC. And 2 seasons ago, him and SunX actually just decided to get up and zoop out of the league, which did make me the GM of the Ducks for the last couple of seasons now. So I'm super interested to see those 2 names back in the league. It's curious to me to see how they're going to perform. Like I said, they were major players. SunX, in my opinion, is a superior player to Ducky. He was not that bad. That team we had when I don't know if you guys remember Farrell when he was still in RLPC playing. That was the season that he had his MVP season. Farrell absolutely lit up the league. Won MVP. I believe that was season 12. Season 12, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
Yeah, season 12. Yeah, so that one, it was me, SunX, and Farrell. And SunX is a heck of a player, guys. I really do have to say that. He really, if he's at least as good as he was a couple of seasons back, I think the Dukes are a team to keep an eye on as well.
The league's like crack. Once you get it, you can't quit, dude. Even if you leave for a while, you come back. I really feel like, and we keep talking about it and hinting at this season is like wild out the door. Like nobody knows what's going to happen for the most part because everything feels like it's changed. It's not just because Rocket League has changed a lot of the way its ranking systems work and things like that, and ranked has been all over the place since. You've had previous 2000s players that are stuck 1500, things like that. It just feels like we're getting a lot of new blood into the league almost. Like a lot of these names I don't know or are moving around rather, even if they have been in the league. So it really feels like a wild season, like one I couldn't predict. If you tried to force me to, like, I just wouldn't know what to say. Like, I think so like you were saying, like, this is going to be a wild season. And I think it'll be curious. Last season, you saw certain teams in the beginning sort of just were better. Like they ran away with it. You had a few teams towards the end that sort of picked back up and were able to get a finals run in. But it really, you could tell the better teams to start with as far as who separated. I think this might be like a roller coaster season of like certain teams do really well certain weeks and then they don't the next.
I agree.
Yeah, I mean, it's gonna be interesting. Again, it's preseason, so there's so much up in there. There's so much still to figure out and learn and all that. So, yeah, I mean, it's gonna be one hell of a ride to see in all these matches. But with that being said, we are gonna move on to Triple A for our predictions, our teams to look out for, and I think Triple A is pretty insane this season. There are like, if you just look at the number 1 predicted team from the news team, the Heat, you have Ajester and Nanites back on the same team. So they're still together, and that was a roster that did extremely well last season. And then you also add on top of that Gusnav and Bravo, two extremely, like, just individual players who are extremely good. And I think these AAA predictions, I actually agree with most of them. I think the news team, even just looking at that, I think they have made some pretty good analysis on which of these teams, just on paper, should do well.
So I would agree, but I'm going to go ahead and go first here because I get some hot breaking news from my sources off the presses. So I'm on this Bobcats roster. I just got told by CXL, a little spoiler for everybody out there, that Justin just got banned for 8 games because he did not report an alt because he's Justin. Now,
beast.
That throws us in the loop, like in terms of, like, so we dropped P Shooter, who's a very good player. We had some issues vibing with his mental state with the team that we had. In particular, him and Justin didn't get along, so we dropped P because P Shooter's known, because Justin is known to Gatman and to CXL of our captain now, and things like that. So we go, okay, this is the roster we sort of like, and then Justin goes and gets thrown out. And there's not a whole lot of talent left. He obviously got picked up immediately. Congrats to him. I think he got put on the Knights roster. So like, that might throw us down toward, it'll depend, right? Like, because I know I'm the like highest on that roster, and I'm one of those players, to everybody out there, like I perform to the level of my teammates. I try to enable my teammates to pass. Some of my mechanics are a little messed up. I do play on a laptop at 20 frames, so take away what you will. Like, so that throws us off because he was a lot of our offensive presence. So that's going to be. I read that. I'm like, oh my lord. So here we go. Now, for the Heat, this is the thing. Heat looked good on stream. We casted that match, or I casted that match. It looked good, right? Like, here's the problem with the Heat. I think they're another situation of, are they going to last the whole season? And judging by how they've been acting in AAA chat, that's a firm negative. Like, Nanites probably already should have been banned. I know I have that with him for him being Nanites. Like, but his whole roster's that way, which I guess is why they can tolerate it. But, can they last the season? Maybe. Probably not. Like,
I mean, it's crazy because it's like they almost have no chill. Like in AAA chat, they're flaming each other. They're flaming other teams. I mean, it matches the org name. Heat, Flame. They take it all in and they disperse it at the same time. So
there's a nice level of toxicity, and then there's the Heat. Like, like I could throw up the GIF on this stream. We might throw it in the editing, but Nanites, no joke, literally going, I didn't lose. Get it right. My team lost. I don't lose. When his team got crushed in scrims. Like, what kind of mentality is that? Like, oh yeah, no, I don't lose. They lose. I don't lose. They do. Like what? Like, so I don't know if they'll last the season for that kind of toxicity. We'll have to see.
And I just do want to say one thing. We did spend a nice little decent amount of time talking about sandbaggers and talking about our ranks, and let me just Dead Medic 1632 saying he's an 1800. But I'm just saying what I see, man. I'm just.
Well, listen, dude, I got as messed up by the reset now as everyone else. I just want to put this out there because I'm going to slap them screenshots up there for you as we seem to have lost Coital. He didn't want to follow this conversation.
First he leaves us, then his computer crashes. Jesus, man.
The laptop ain't handling it. All right.
Don't worry, we'll have a very attractive still screen of you.
It'll just be a picture of his Stallions roster. Like, so I think that, so yes, like I said, MMRs are benchmark, and I haven't been able to get back up to 18 this season. So there is that. Like, I like to claim I'm an 1800 player because I was there for a while, but yes, I have struggled with my solo queue teammates. I'm going to put it out there, dude. You get some apes. I
am just busting you a little bit, but
you know, no, we're supposed to be friends.
I think. Well, you showing me up in the intro doesn't really tell me that. Thank you very much. but regardless, that does really. I mean, ranked in the same thing. Like, I know we talked about this already. Won't beat a dead horse, but ranked is garbage these days. It really is garbage. Whatever. All right, we can move on.
Well. I do want to give Bulldogs their credit, though, really quick, just to say that I think they actually do look like a solid
put respect on their name.
There. Obviously, like I said, like Bobcats and Heat are volatile in the sense that, like, we just lost Justin, and in the sense that Heat might get banned. We'll have to see, those sort of things if they continue such behavior. But the Bulldogs just seem like a solid roster. And again, you've got the returning champs, those guys that know how to win, right? They know how to pull it together in the end, because they, for a long time, were battling it out, I believe, with the Dolphins for the spot for playoffs. And obviously they ended up winning that battle and then taking it all the way. So I definitely think you got a really strong roster, as much as it's going to pump their ego to hear that. But I am looking forward to see how they perform this season, because I do think they're one of those teams that, like, will throw some shade in AAA chat, but they're like nice guys. Like, they're not like actually toxic. So I definitely am rooting for them going forward here.
Did you say egos in RLPC? What?
Hey, whoa, you gotta chill out with the being chill with us. I don't know if I can say the same. You're in our division, bro.
Man, starts the podcast, bro. Like, I'm up there in the GC. I mean, I don't reflex, but here we are. Ego, nah, dude.
All right. Before. So do want to shout out some two teams that I'm going to definitely be looking out for. First off, the Trojans. You might not know a lot of the players, but Mux, Bozo, and Cream are all players that know each other. That's a team that was put together because those players have played together before. I've cast them in a differently that they played, and they're all extremely good. So that's a squad that I definitely think is more of a sleeper pick, but they could definitely perform very well. And then also the other one that I wanted to just shout out, and this is more just a fun fact. This isn't even me knowing anything about the roster, but on the Raiders, there is a player called Firebird. And this is a fun fact that I don't think anyone really knows in RLBC, but I used to play StarCraft 2 at a semi-professional level. And in StarCraft 2, my username is Firebird. So I saw that, I was like, that's interesting.
Really? That's awesome, man. Wow.
Out here ripping the Firebird
Coincidence?
name, dude.
Yeah, sharing a namesake with somebody there. But yeah, I think this AAA is going to be just all over the place. Like, I don't think there's any way to predict it. You can say these teams look good on paper, but we have no idea what's going to happen. It's going to be absolutely wild. On the other side, Major, stepping up there, I think that, again, all these teams, you look at them and you say, all right, I know these players. I know that name. But as a team, I have no clue what's going to happen.
Yeah.
It's going to be really interesting because, again, like, there's a lot of players that have been split up. Like, I think all of, like, the established names really are now just like all on different rosters.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and if I could point something out, I mean, I feel like Major is going to be the most controversial league in my personal opinion. And I say this because there's players in here who are like, the only reason they're in here is because last season they're like, all right, you know what? I'm going to push for that MMR. I'm going to get to the next league up tier. And, we say this because RLPC was being super, super secretive about what they were going to release these MMR changes at and where the leagues were going to stand. And everybody thought, oh, man, these are going to skyrocket. And to our surprise, it actually went down a lot. So there's a lot of these players who are pushing MMR, hoping to just be like maybe one tier ahead, but then they're now in Major playing with people of the likes of Deluxe, Bits, Migs,
Cyan.
don't forget Cyan, and someone who is especially to look out for is Slice, who actually just came back to play.
Jesus Christ, dude! I don't want to play him.
So you're getting people. I'm not trying to throw shade or anything, but the first person who comes to my mind is Clamps because he was in my league last season, and I play against him, and you feel like this guy going up against former rank A player who could easily probably go pro if he found the teammates that fit with him. It's a very, very unbalanced scale. So,
but then I do want to say just one thing though, because you do bring that up, but I probably shouldn't because I'm gonna kind of poop on myself here. But remember, I did have Andy on my team. When was this?
Yeah.
Well, not last season, 2 seasons ago.
Mm-hmm.
Andy, now pro player, legit pro player. My team went 11-7, got first round in the playoffs. So that all goes back to the same thing we talked way throughout the podcast. We have a theme for the podcast. That's your first theme of the day, ladies and gentlemen. Your teammates, if they suck, your team's gonna suck. And that's
I don't know. I thought preseason and was the theme of this podcast. What do you mean?
That one too. Whatever.
I thought it was the theme was Science Ego, dude. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, Mr. 1800. All right.
Yeah.
The Redirect Podcast episode 1. Who has the biggest ego
I
on
just
the
had
desk?
to sandbag. I just had to sandbag, dude. I don't want to play you, dude. You scare me. Okay? I didn't want to go up to Major and play you.
Yeah, good thing I'm subbing.
Yeah, I think you're right. Like, you get these players that could be bubble pros, and I think this is the hardest part about every league that I've ever seen that tries to balance players at this level. And it is because there is such a big difference between like 1650 and 2000 plus. But the problem is always commitment and ego. I really think that some of these players, they come in and they're like, okay, I'll play on the off day. I'm just better than this league. So I'm like here to be here and I'll play something. We had this problem with our Panthers roster last season. So like they to me should have won. But they just like barely showed up sometimes. They had to pull a lot of subs. Like they just didn't make the commitment because they weren't as invested in RLPC. And so they went an okay mid-tier, middling record and didn't win.
Yeah.
Now, like you get that problem for some of these players because when you get to those levels, some of these players develop the identity that I am just better than my teammates and I don't feel like trying. Like I'll go try and rank. This is feels like rank, like etc. And it's not because they are better. It's just because that's how they act. And now that's no fault to some of these players. I mean, you earn a rank. You have the right to flex it. But I think that The reason that majors are so difficult to predict these days is because yes, you have that individual talent like that bubble pro level, but are they going to commit? Are they going to show up? Are they going to try? Are they going to bother? So yes, your teammates can throw you off there. Like it's going to be an interesting series and season to see, can these guys win? Who ends up coming out on top? I think they did a very good job of the power rankings of all the teams that have these sort of like bubble pro level players that other players outside the league actually might know are higher up. But I think that, again, you're going to have to see who shows up and who bothers to play. It's like, because like you were saying, you had Andy. We had Sathu on our collegiate team for a little while. Obviously, pro player. He just got signed to be a pro again. But we never really we won a couple times with him. But he got to the point. He was like, yeah, I can't. Like, you guys aren't good enough for me to carry you past teams like Akron. If anybody follows CRL, like really solid. All players are bubble sort of pro players in their own right. So you can't just say, well, I got Bits and he's the bubble pro, so we'll win every game. I do think Panthers looking stacked this season, but with that roster. But again, I would agree. Long story short, that it's going to depend on the how motivated these players come out and are.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, again, the power rankings, by the way, just to tell you exactly what they are. Number one, of course, the Bulls. You have Migs, Soars, Milio, and TurboCat. Just, again, these are rosters where you look at them and you say, okay, this roster should just do well. They have a bunch of players that individually are great. Second, they have the Panthers, as you said, Bits, Dulux, like Insanity. Again, those are all extremely good players. And then in third, predicted the Flames, who I can't actually view because on the stat sheet it is.
I have 5 players right now.
Yeah, I believe their roster is Els, Zayo, Bob, and I think they're deciding between either Chubik or Oivu as their sub. And I don't know what they're going to do with the one they don't choose. I think I see the most likely situation is Oibu going not playing.
Yeah, as the GM of that franchise, yeah.
But that's about all I can see from that roster. But yeah, I believe Els, Zayo, and Bob, they're definitely a pretty good contender.
Yeah, I think another team that I would look out for, again, this is me talking just because I know these players. There's the roster. If you look at the Spartans, QZK, Jost, Jaber, and Nicolou, all 4 of those players have actually played together at one point, again, in a that I work for. So that's a team that's come together of players who know each other, who have obviously played together. So they already have that. They already have that knowledge of how each other play together. So that should be a fairly interesting roster.
I love that you brought up that team because, Goss, in my opinion, is one of the most underrated players in the all major. This man has been consistently a major for, I don't know, as many seasons as kind of I've been here. I did play with him for a second when we picked him up when Andy was around on the Ducks. We did sign him to the team, and then we had the Sheets team screwed up the MMRs or whatever. But watching this man play, every time I watch him or get to the pleasure of casting his games or something, he's always just consistently good. I'm not saying that this is a player that's going to go out and be like that Slice or be like that Andy, but he's that perfect second, third guy who's been there, knows how to win, has already won with Slice before. So let's see if he could beat him now to get another championship under his belt. I believe he actually won the championship last season. I think he actually won a couple in a row. If I'm actually, hold on, let me double check that, because I think he might have a couple in a row at this point, which is just absurd to me.
And I mean, while you're checking that, I will say we've been talking about players having support, but if I'm being honest, we're looking at Slice here, right? And back to 2 seasons ago when he was on the Sharks roster, I don't remember exactly who his teammates were. I believe one of them was Edwin. I don't know off the top of my head who his third was, but he was playing a very strong roster that was your previous Ducks team, which was I believe Farrell, Sonics, and Ducky.
And me, silly.
And
me.
And you.
No,
my
Ducky
bad.
didn't play over me. Oh, Jesus, you just insulted me.
Oh, okay. But anyway, you look at that and you say, Slice kind of had to pull out the backpack. Trying to say it in the nicest way possible, but he opened up that bag, said, all right, guys, hop in. We're winning this. And I believe Slice is the player who can do that.
Of course.
I need somebody to get me in a bag, dude.
I do agree with that. And I was off by 1. Sorry. He won back-to-back season 11 and season 12. Season 13, he did not win a major championship, but he's got that experience. He's been there. He's won. Yes, Slice, of course, big reason that they won in that season 11. But season 12, he wasn't there. Slice still one of the glue guys that got it done for his team, brought him to the finals, and won back to back. That's just one of the types of players that I think is just consistently just that glue guy that teams are looking for. So.
See, I'm looking at the Spartans for a different reason though, and I'm looking at them in the same way I'm looking at the Pirates. And it's like, even if I don't know necessarily the players on the roster, I look at the way that their draft behavior was, and both of those teams were teams that only, you had like Oebu, who's been sometimes Lumberjacks doing meme bids all the time, but both the Pirates and the Spartans for me, I remember because I was commentating the first one with Bart, it was like they knew exactly who they wanted, so they only ever bid, and they bid high on who they wanted. And so like for me, that shows like these GMs might have been onto something, and like I know who I want as a roster, I know who's good, and so maybe they're little sleeper picks, like because their GMs built them well. Now, again, I know I'm flexing a little bit, and I know that good old Trash Bandit, our streamer, is GM of the Pirates, so he's probably gonna come in here and be like, "Yeah, dude, that was my plan all along, dude. I used that information I had, dude. I'm just so smart." But I really do think like they knew who they wanted, they went for him, they got him for the most part. Mm-hmm. So I'm really looking forward to seeing their production, just on the fact that they went out and picked up who they wanted and knew who they wanted. So clearly the GMs in some way had done their research for this players.
Mm-hmm. My AAA team was all handpicked by one player. He went completely out of his way to watch every single thing that he could. Handpicked the two draftees that I picked up, which were Killer and Firebird, as Titan was mentioning earlier. He picked up one from free agent. My Pirates org, which is Goff, Skyline, Bubble Reaper, and Heck, are all FA. We're all handpicked by Skyline and Goff. The AA roster I made was all handpicked by myself. And the A roster is all players from my... Well, half of them are players from my Maverick team from last season. I can see Titan writing this down.
No, dude.
And then taking notes on how to be a good GM here. That's what you do.
The other
put in way too much time.
The other three that are currently on the team are all fighting for the last position on the roster. I have 5 on my team, and there's a fight for the last spot right now. So we're gonna see what goes on.
Bro, why do I feel like Bandit's got like a desk set up in his office, and these dudes are like chained to it, like figure it out, figure this.
He's got like the pegboard with like the little wires around each other, different player names. He's like, this combination should work. Piece of the past, this player played with this guy.
Looking at the camera with crazy eyes. It's like, I figured it out.
Mad scientist. Yeah. But yeah, I absolutely agree with Cyan. Yeah, I absolutely agree with Cyan on Jost. He's like, when I just look at him again, like he's not going to pull out anything where you're like, oh my god, but he's just consistently a good player, and you're like, how are you just this consistently good? And now he has a roster that he has played with before, so that's a team to definitely look out for.
Yes.
But yeah, Majors it's going to be a toss-up. I mean, again, when you have teams like this where you have like anywhere from 1640 to 2000 MMR.
Let's go Ducks.
It can be absolutely wild, and it is very hard to balance. I know with another league I had, I think it was a year ago or so, one of the teams had Chalks, Astro, and then Lukey Pookie. So you had a CRL player, a RLCS player, future RLCS player, and then also a bubble player on the same team, and that team just won everything. So it's very hard to balance. It's very hard to like say what team is going to do good, because sometimes you do have those teams where the players that are picked up do just like go on and they just, again, they go to the bubble, they maybe even make it to RLCS. So it's it's going to be absolutely crazy.
Stay tuned.
Stay tuned. But yeah, I think that does kind of wrap up preseason talk, wraps up the predictions, wraps up us talking about the teams. And we went a little bit over on the time here, but that is going to do it for our first episode.
That's great.
Oh wait, are we going to cover RLCS today, or are we going to leave that for future?
Nah, we'll leave it.
I don't think we're going to have time.
We can
next
move
time,
on
tune
to
in,
that
everybody.
Yeah, next time. But there's plenty to talk about RLCS Majors.
NRG, what are you doing?
Actually, okay,
keep the drama.
I just want to put this out there. So for all those that are wondering about the Musty thing, right? Like Musty getting signed NRG sub. So I actually was in a chat with a couple. So I know a couple pros. I know one of the coaches. I know some pros. And I was in a chat, and they were like, "This is actually a super smart move." it's not because Musty is a good player in the sense that they want him to play at an RLCS level. He is a content creator, and you're almost never going to use your sub. So as long as you get somebody that can hit a ball, this is how it was explained to me, at an SSL level, and you bring that community, because all of these orgs are looking for free content creation, like that's why players like Musty get signed. Now, Sathu, right, getting signed to SSG, again, publicity, he might become more of a content creator, but he also is solid enough to be a sub at BS2. So that is the explanation for the Musty thing from like pros and coaches. Like that's why he gets subbed, even though like maybe he shouldn't skill wise. I would tend to agree. Like
Yeah.
But I will say he has gotten so much better than he had been. He is not bad anymore. But
yeah,
Very
I mean,
true,
I have to
very
agree.
true.
He did that thing. I don't know how familiar you guys are with the whole him on YouTube thing, but you know, he did that whole month. I think
with the pros,
yeah, playing with pros only, and that definitely helped him.
Oh yeah,
I mean, get a lot better.
help
I
us
mean,
all.
yeah, I feel like it'd help anyone if you just played for pros of the month. They give you tips and stuff. You'd get a lot better. But yeah, I mean, I feel like part of this, him getting on the roster, is, I mean, like Dead Medic said, it's publicity, and at the same time, he's probably also just friends with these guys. At the end of the day, you know, I feel like most of these pros that he played were a part of that NRG roster, being Garrett, Squishy, and Justin. So I mean, yeah, but it also comes down to it, like what if there is that day where one of your players can't connect to the internet, or there is something going on, and then you're like, all right, who's our sub? You know,
Sounds
back
like
when
Alright.
C9 was the thing, C9 had Fireburner, who came in and played amazing, and now we're going to Musty, who you know doesn't have really any feats, you could say, when it comes to like championships or anything. He doesn't have anything notable to say about him besides, oh yeah, I hit top 100 once.
My man, that's the Musty flick.
Yeah, well,
True.
I hate to cut you guys off, but unfortunately, we really don't have time to talk. Save that for maybe next week. We'll be able to talk about all of that, because there's plenty of interesting stuff going on with RLCS, with all of that, with new players who are trying to get into the pro scene, with new teams that have just suddenly kind of risen to the top, and you're like, oh, where did this come from? Cough cough rogue. Just
We'll get into that.
But yeah, we'll talk about that later. We'll talk about that next week. But again, guys, this has been the Redirect Podcast for RLPC. We're going to be trying to get here, I believe, every week, giving you an episode of content talking about updates in RLPC, with RLCS, all different kind of things, just anything Rocket League related. Because again, we're just some guys who like to play a game, and we want to talk about it a little bit. But yeah, it's been an absolute blast talking about preseason. Again, so much to keep up with. If you aren't a part of Discord, of course, link in the description. Also, you can give a follow to the Twitch, where again we are streaming Tuesdays and Thursdays for these next 2 weeks on preseason games, so you can see all of these teams, how they're shaping up, all of the results. So you might even catch, or you're probably going to catch at some point, all of us casting there, as we all do commentary for RLPC. But with that being said, I am going to close it out. Thank you everyone so much for watching. I have been joined by Cyan, Dead Medic, and Squintle. I, of course, am Titan on Fire, and hopefully we will see all of you guys next week for the next episode of the Redirect Podcast.
Good night, guys.
Bye.
Yeah.
Goodbye, everybody.